Good day, everyone. We are the Group 3, and today we will be discussing about the Philippine Constitution and its history.
So, good day everyone. I am Relty Garcia, and for now, I will be giving you a brief introduction about what we will be discussing for today. So, to begin with our discussion, let me introduce the word constitute. So, constitute means to be whole, the coming together of distinct entities in one group with the same principles and ideals. Ito yung mga iba't ibang tao, maaaring ang dahilan ay kanilang iba't ibang relihiyon or ang pangkat etniko na kanilang kinabibilangan, ngunit naging iisa or nagkaisa sa pamamagitan ng iisang prinsipyo at iisang mithiin. Kumbaga, sa kabila ng kanilang pagkakaiba, ang iisang prinsipyo at iisang mithiin ang natatangi or ilan sa natatanging aspeto kung bakit nagkaroon ng pagkakaisa ang iba't ibang tao na iyon. So it is also a set of fundamental principles or established presence according to which a state or other organization is governed. In other words, ito yung mga prinsipyong saligan. Ito yung standard kung sa or batayan kung paano patatakbuhin ng gobyerno or paano niya pamamalakaran ang kanyang mga nasasakupan. So it also states here that it is the balance of power of the government and the rights of the people. So how can we say na ang konstitusyon ang nagbabalanse sa kapangyarihan ng gobyerno at sa karapatang pantao? Because as I have said earlier, yung konstitusyon ay yung standard or pinagbabasehan kung papaano palalakarin ng isang gobyerno ang kanya nasasakupan. So it also means that it gives power to the government. But at the same time, it gives limitation kung hanggang saan lang yung power na yon. And yun yung tinatawag nating mga karapatang pantao, which is the rights of the people. Kung saan naka-include yun sa konstitusyon para hindi maabuso ng gobyerno yung kanyang kapangyarihan at gamitin ito laban sa nasasakupan niya. So the Philippine Constitution as a whole basically means the supreme law of the Republic of the Philippines. Ito ang pinaka mataas na batas ng Republika ng Pilipinas. So ito yung nagpapalakad sa atin. Ito yung batayan natin kung paano tayo pinalalakad magpasa hanggang ngayon. Ngayon, magtungo na tayo sa highlight ng ating diskusyon, which is the evolution of the Constitution, the process of changes in which the Constitution have undergone over a several generations. So dito natin matutunghayan kung paano or anong mga pagbabago na isailalim ang Constitution para lang magkaroon ng resulta sa Constitution na ginagamit natin sa ngayon. So, the Constitution of the Philippines has been in effect since 1987. Ang konstitusyon na ginagamit ng Republika ng Pilipinas ngayon ay naging epektibo simula po noong 1987. But there were constitutions attempted by the Filipinos in the struggle to break free from the colonists. So, habang nasa ilalim pa tayo ng mga mananakop, may ilan na konstitusyon na naisulat. However, only 3 constitutions have effectively governed the country. The 1935 Commonwealth Constitution, the 1973 Constitution, and the 1986 Freedom Constitution. Hindi pa kasama dito yung 1987 Constitution na ginagamit natin magpasangga ngayon. So, discussing this evolution of the Constitution will let us know kung bakit may mga konstitusyon na naisulat noon pero hindi nagtagumpay or hindi naging epektibo para pamahalaanan ang Pilipinas noong mga panahong iyon.
Good day everyone. I am Cyril Jos Santos and I will be reporting about the 1897 Philippine Constitution, also known as the Constitution of Biak na Bato. Constitución Provisional de la República de Filipinas, in English, the Provisional Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, was a landmark document drafted in November 1, 1897 at Biak na Bato, San Miguel de Mayumo in Bulacan, during the Philippine Revolution, established by revolutionary leader Emilio Aguinaldo and his compatriots. It marked the birth of the first Philippine Republic, albeit short-lived. This constitution is significant for laying the groundwork for a self-governing Philippine state and outlining its revolutionary aspirations. It served as a foundational blueprint for the soon-to-be-declared Philippine Republic. The Constitution outlined a government structure with three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. It established a Supreme Council led by a president to oversee the executive branch, and a legislature composed of provincial representatives. Notably, the document enshrined the principles of individual liberty and due process, while acknowledging the revolutionary context by allowing for exceptions in times of war. The Constitution is borrowed from Cuba and was written in Spanish by Isabelo Artacho and Felix Ferrer. The Constitution was then later on translated into Tagalog. Under this Constitution, the organs of the government were: 1. The Executive Branch. The Executive Branch under the 1897 Philippine Constitution differed from the structure we see today. Instead of a single president, executive power rested with the Supreme Council. This council comprised a president, a vice president, and 4 secretaries managing foreign relations, war, interior, and treasury. The president held the most authority, responsible for approving laws passed by the council and ensuring their execution. They also possessed the power to issue decrees and receive foreign dignitaries, laying the groundwork for diplomacy. Number 2. The Judiciary Branch. The Judiciary Branch of the Constitution of Biak na Bato consists of the Consejo Supremo de Gracia y Justicia, in English, Supreme Council of Grace and Justice. It was appointed as the highest judicial body. This council functioned as the sole court and held significant power. It could review and modify sentences issued by lower courts, acting as a Supreme Court and an appeals court simultaneously. Furthermore, the Consejo Supremo de Gracia y Justicia possessed the authority to establish regulations for the overall administration of justice within the revolutionary government. This responsibility gave them significant influence in shaping the legal system during the developing period of the Philippine Republic. And lastly, the Legislative Branch. The legislative body for the 1897 Philippine Constitution was called the Asamblea de Representantes, or the Assembly of Representatives. This assembly functioned as the first attempt at a national legislature in the Philippines, where the Constitution stipulated that each province could elect a single representative. The Asamblea de Representantes' primary role was to approve laws proposed by the executive branch, the Supreme Council. The Assembly did hold the ability to shape legislation and provide a platform for representatives from various Philippine provinces to voice their concerns. The Asamblea de Representantes marked a crucial step towards a representative government in the Philippines, even with its limitations. Although the Constitution of Biak na Bato outlined a framework for the Philippine Republic, it was never fully implemented due to the Pact of Biak na Bato. Because the pact established a truce between the Spanish colonial government and the Philippine revolutionaries led by Emilio Aguinaldo, as part of the agreement, Aguinaldo and his fellow subordinates agreed for them to be exiled in Hong Kong. This exile then essentially dismantled the revolutionary government that the Constitution aimed to establish, rendering the Constitution almost meaningless. However, the significance of the Constitution remains. It served as a foundational document for the later Malolos Constitution of 1898, which established the first Philippine Republic. The 1897 Constitution also demonstrated the revolutionaries' aspirations for self-governance and a representative democracy.
Hello everyone, my name is Royce Blanty Felipe, and I will be reporting the Malolos Constitution, or formerly known as the Political Constitution of 1899. So, upon the defeat of the Spanish to the Americans in the Battle of Manila Bay on May 1, 1898, the United States Navy transported Aguinaldo back to the Philippines upon his exile in Hong Kong. So, in-excel si President Aguinaldo sa Hong Kong in exchange of 400,000 pesos. So, after nagkaroon ng war between the Spaniards and the Americans, which the Americans won, and after the Treaty of Paris, napunta ang, like, sabihin natin, napunta yung Philippines may-aari na ng mga Americans. So, after that, the control was reverted to Aguinaldo, and the Philippine Declaration of Independence was issued on June 12, 1898, that forming the first Philippine Republic. Next slide, please. So, on September 17, 1898, wealthy and educated men were elected to form the Malolos Congress. So, on November 29, 1898, the 1899 Malolos Constitution was approved by the Malolos Congress. On December 23, 1898, the Constitution was approved by the President, Aguinaldo, and promulgated on January 21, 1899. That's why it was named the Malolos Constitution of 1899. It was formed by the wealthy, we need to remind that, wealthy and educated men in Malolos Congress, elected in the Malolos Congress during 1899. So next slide, please. So the Malolos Constitution was actually patterned after the Spanish Constitution of 1812, with the influence from charters of Belgium, Mexico, Brazil, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Guatemala, and also the French Constitution of 1793. So yung Malolos Constitution actually, like, parang ginaya or like may kinuwang mga parte sa constitution ng mga ibang bansa, which I said Belgium, Mexico, Brazil, Costa Rica, Guatemala, French Constitution, and yung Nicaragua. So next slide, please. In terms of the constitutional projects in the Philippines, the Malolos Constitution was influenced by the Cartilla and Sangguniang Hukuman, the Biak na Bato Constitution of 1897, Mabini's Constitutional Program of the Philippine Republic of 1898, the Provincial Constitution of Mariano Ponce in 1898, and lastly, the Autonomy Project of Paterno in 1898. So, the Malolos Constitution has 39 articles. It was divided into 14 titles with 14 titles, so with 8 articles of transitory provisions, and the other 8 as the final additional article. So it's also important that the Malolos Constitution was significant achievement by the First Philippine Republic, which has been established just a few months earlier nung like ayun nga natalo yung mga Spaniards sa mga Americans. But it's also important to remember that it was never fully implemented. Of course, we all know that it was due to the outbreak of the Philippine and American War naman. The First Philippine Republic was eventually defeated by the United States, and the Malolos Constitution was replaced by the Philippine Organic Act of 1902. Despite its short lifespan, the Malolos Constitution is very important, as it is the first constitution that the so-called first it's like the first document of the Philippine First Republic government, yung pinakaunang papeles. That's why it's very important. So that will be all with my report. Let me call on my next groupmate to discuss the Commonwealth Constitution. Thank you.
Good day. My name is Johnny Elijah Beliza. and I'm going to report the 1935 Commonwealth Constitution. Philippines Commonwealth era is the 10-year transitional period in Philippine history from 1935 to 1945. In preparation for independence from the United States, as provided for under the Philippines Independence Act, or more popularly known as the Tidings-MacDuffie Law. So, right after the Treaty of Paris, the Philippines was subjected to the power of the United States of America. The United States Congress passed two acts which can be considered informally as Philippine Constitution. First one is the Philippine Organic Act of 1902, the first organic law of the Philippine Islands, that provided for the creation of a popularly elected Philippine Assembly. It is also known as the Philippine Bill of 1902 or the Copper Act. The United States Congressman Henry Allen Copper sponsored the Philippine Bill of 1902, also known as the Copper Act. The bill proposed the creation and administration of a civil government in the Philippines. President Theodore Roosevelt signed it into law in July 1902. So, it also includes the ratification of all changes introduced in the Philippine government by the President of the U.S., such as the establishment of the Philippine Commission and Office of the Civil Government and the Supreme Court. The second one is the Philippine Autonomy Law, or also known as Jones Law. Modifies the structure of the Philippine government through removal of the Philippine Commission, replacing it with a Senate. To further train the Filipinos in the art of government, the U.S. Congress enacted the Jones Law on August 29, 1916. It was the first official document that clearly promised the Philippine independence, as stated in its preamble. As soon as a stable government was established, the Jones Law, or the Philippine Autonomy Act, replaced the Philippine Bill of 1902 as the framework of the Philippine government. It provides for the creation of the executive powers. The Vice Governor General, assisted by his cabinet, would exercise executive powers. The Vice Governor would act concurrently as the Secretary of Education. So the act that explicitly declared the purposes of United States of America to end their sovereignty and recognize Philippine independence as soon as a stable government can be established, just like what I said. So by 1934, the third act was passed by the United States Congress, the Tidings-MacDuffie Act, or the Philippine Independence Act, that provides authority and defined mechanism for the establishment of a formal constitution by a constitutional convention. The Tidings-MacDuffie Act, officially the Philippine Independence Act of the United States Congress, or Public Law 73-127, or more popularly known as the Tidings-MacDuffie Law, provided for the establishment of the Commonwealth government for a period of 10 years preparatory to the granting of independence. So, the next one is the Commonwealth of the Philippines is the administrative body that governed our country from 1935 to 1946. So, just like what I said before, inaabot ito ng 10 years bago mag-undergo yung Luneta. So, the Commonwealth Constitution was influenced dominantly by American, but it also bears traces of Malolos Constitution, the German, Spanish, and Mexican constitutions. Constitutions of several South American countries, and the unwritten English constitutions. The draft of the Constitution was approved by the Constitutional Convention on February 8, 1935, and ratified by the U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt on March 25, 1935. On September 1935, Elections were held and Manuel L. Quezon was elected as the President of the Commonwealth. So after deliberation, the Commonwealth government was restored. Congress convened in its first President, Manuel A. Rojas, of the Philippines regular session on July 9, 1945. It was the first time that the people's representative have assembled since their election on November 11, 1941. Manuel Rojas was elected Senate President and Elpidio Carino was chosen President pro tempore. Jose Zulueta was Speaker of the House, while Prospero Sanidad became Speaker pro tempore. The first law of the Congress enacted as Commonwealth Act 672 organized the Central Bank of the Philippines. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Alan Madison G. Verano. Today I'll be discussing the 1973 Constitution. The 1973 Constitution, which is the constitutional authoritarianism. It all started when Ferdinand E. Marcos was elected in 1965, which then the Philippine Congress passed a resolution in 1967 to call for a constitutional convention to change the 1935 Constitution. The 1935 Constitution is a political system that is identical to the American one na naging operative din sa ating bansa. The system called for a president to be elected at large from 6-year to a 4-year term with the possibility of being re-elected for a second term. In 1969, when Marcos finished his term, he won the re-election. It became possible because of the 1935 Constitution that allows the re-election after a 4-year term. And he also won the elections of the delegates to the Constitutional Convention that were held on November 20, 1970. On June 1, 1971, the convention formally started with former President Carlos P. Garcia, elected as the convention president. But unfortunately, he died. But he was succeeded by another former president too, which is Diosdado Macapagal. During the convention, martial law was declared. Ang ginamit na rason ni Marcos para ma-declare ang martial law ay ang pagdami raw ng komunista na under ng 1935 Constitution for Martial Law. Introducing a parliamentary style, the convention was approved on November 29, 1972. On November 30, 1973, President Marcos issued a Presidential Decree No. 73 to reject the Constitution na na-postpone din dahil sa takot niyang hindi ito sang-ayunan ng publiko. From January 10 to 15, majority of the barangay voters, also known as citizen assemblies, votes by hand on whether to ratify the Constitution, suspend the convening of the Interim National Assembly, continue the martial law, or place a moratorium period on elections for a period of at least several years. The President then announced that the proposed Constitution had been ratified on January 17, 1973. Amendments of the 1973 Constitution includes a Interim Batasang Pambansa to replace the Interim National Assembly. President also becomes the Prime Minister and would continue to exercise legislative power until martial law was lifted. In 1980, the retirement age of members' judiciary was extended to 70 years. In 1981, the parliamentary system was formally modified to a French-style semi-presidential system. In 1984, Executive Committee was abolished and the position of Vice President was restored. Pagkatapos ma-introduce lahat ng amendments, the 1973 Constitution was merely a way for the President to keep the executive power. Ngunit ang sitwasyon noong 1980s ay naging magulo para kay Marcos. Nabaligtad ang sitwasyon dahil sa assassination kay Benigno Aquino Jr. noong August 1983 na nililing kay Marcos. The assassination caused a widespread suspicion that it was an order from government and military that pushed the coming together of the unviolent opposition against Marcos' regime. Marcos was then forced to hold snap elections a year early. He then declared himself the winner despite the international condemnation and nationwide protests. This event triggered a small group of military rebels to attempt a staged coup, which then failed. But it caused the EDSA People Power Revolution of 1986 to come. Under the pressure from the USA, Marcos and his family fled into exile. Corazon Aquino then replaced Marcos as president on February 25, 1986, which will be discussed by our next reporter. Thank you.
So good day everyone, my name is Mona Linda Z. Solar and I will be reporting the 1986 Freedom Constitution. So President Corazon Aquino was presented three options, which is to restore the 1935 Constitution, retain and reform the 1973 Constitution, or pass a new Constitution. And she decided to have a Constitution, which is the Freedom Constitution. So we have the Freedom Constitution. The 1986 Freedom Constitution was a provisional constitution na inissued ni President Corazon Aquino after ng People Power Revolution sa Pilipinas. So it was in effect from 1986 to 1987 and play a crucial role in restoring democratic governance in the country. So, the 1986 Freedom Constitution was adopted on March 25, 1986, following the ousting of President Ferdinand Marcos. So, ang pangunahing layunin ng 1986 Freedom Constitution ay ang magtatag ng isang tradisyonal na pamahalaan at magbigay daan for a drafting of a more permanent constitution. So it aimed to dismantle the authoritarian rule of Ferdinand Marcos and ibalik ang demokratikong prinsipyo and constitution. So some key features of the 1986 Freedom Constitution include executive power. The Constitution vested executive power in the President, who was elected by popular vote. It limited the President's term to a single 6-year terms to prevent the concentration of power. The other one is the Bill of Rights. The Constitution included a Bill of Rights that guaranteed fundamental freedoms and protections for individuals, such as freedom of speech, press, and assembly. It aimed to safeguard civil liberties and prevent abuses of power. Also, the local government. The Constitution provided for the establishment of local government units and devolved certain powers and responsibilities to them. It aimed to promote decentralization and empower local communities. Land reform. The Constitution emphasized agrarian reform and the redistribution of land to farmers. It aimed to address social inequalities and promote economic justice. So, the Freedom Constitution aimed to restore democracy and legal order following the end of Marcos' authoritarian rule. Executive powers, it vested broad executive powers in President Corazon Aquino, allowing her to reorganize the government, exact laws, and address past abuses until a new permanent constitution was established. The Freedom Constitution only lasted until the new 1987 Constitution was ratified on February 2 of the same year. So, the Freedom Constitution of 1986 was intended as a temporary constitution for several reasons, including following the People Power Revolution that ousted Ferdinand Marcos. There was an urgent need to establish a legal framework for governance. The Freedom Constitution provided a swift solution to fill the power vacuum and ensure continuity of government function. Also, the primary goal was to restore democratic processes and civil liberties. So, a temporary constitution was a practical step to guarantee fundamental rights and freedoms while a more permanent solution was being developed. Overall, the Freedom Constitution of 1986 was essential in transitioning the Philippines from dictatorship to democracy, setting the stage for a more stable and democratic government. Thank you.
So, hi, my name is Christopher Girovante and I will be discussing the 1987 Constitution, also known as Constitution after Martial Law. So, for the 1987 Constitutions, also known as Constitutions after Martial Law. So, I'll read it first, the bullet form, and then I'll explain it after. So, approved by the 1986 Constitutional Commission on October 12, 1986, the 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines was presented to President Corazon C. Aquino on October 15, 1986. It was ratified on February 2, 1987 by a plebiscite. It was proclaimed in force on February 11, 1987. So meaning, President Aquino was presented with the 1987 Philippine Constitution, which originally approved by the Constitutional Commission, approved in a national vote, and became a use on February 11, 1987. And for the second bullet, which is, it begins with a preamble and 18 self-contained articles, which means the Republic of the Philippines constitutional framework consists of 18 articles dealing with governance, rights, and responsibilities. And for the third bullet, it established the Philippines as a democratic republican state where sovereignty resides in the people and all government authority emanates from them. So, meaning by allowing citizens to participate in decision-making processes, the 1987 Philippine Constitution established a democratic republican state. It is under a republican system of governance. This idea supports transparency, accountability, and the protection of individual rights. And for the last bullet, which is, it allocates governmental powers among the executives, the legislative, and judicial branches of the government. Meaning, the 1987 Constitution divided up the country's authority among three interdependent branches: the executive, legislative, and judicial. So, in order to prevent power concentration, protect individual rights, and advance democratic governance in the Philippines.
So, for those who are interested to know more about the Philippine Constitution and its evolution, we have our sources displayed on your screen. Mr. Rusty Espinosa, our major source, has 2 videos on his YouTube channel, mainly discussing the Philippine Constitution and its evolution. So you can visit Rusty Espinosa on YouTube. Next, the Official Gazette of the Philippines, the official journal of the Republic of the Philippines, an online version of the print edition of the Official Gazette, wherein it has tabs dedicated for the history of the Constitution.
So once again, we are the group 3 and our discussion ends here. So we do hope you enjoy our video and thank you everyone for listening. Thank you so much.